Well, it's time to cook with Susan Beck. And again, we're going to make bread. I recently posted how to make a cheddar bread, a light wheat bread, and a rye bread. And I thought, well, really, we should do a basic white bread. Now, I have been taking my recipes with a few adaptations from this Artisan Bread in 5 Minutes a Day book. And one of the things about this book is that you can make enough dough for 4 loaves, but only make 1 loaf a day. And I love it because I can have fresh, warm bread every night if I want it for 4 days straight. Or I can store my dough for, 10 to even 14 days in the refrigerator. And nothing's better than a fresh, warm loaf of bread. Now, making bread, especially when it's white bread, is just unbelievably simple and takes almost no ingredients at all. I have 6½ cups of flour, and I have some yeast here. I'm going to go ahead and put in my 1½ tablespoons of instant yeast. I love instant yeast because I don't have to worry about proofing it, and I just mix everything together. I don't sit and wait around for it to be ready. And I'm also going to use 1½ tablespoons of salt. I have 3 cups of water. This water has been warmed in the microwave. I put it in for 1 minute and 15 seconds. I like to get it to, around 100 to 125 degrees in temperature. So you can use a thermometer if you'd like, but I've kind of gotten it down to how long it takes in my microwave to get it to the proper temperature. If you use cold water, that's okay. It just will take you probably twice as long to get your dough to rise. I'm using a little dough hook here to just kind of stir it all together. And then in goes my flour. There's my yeast and water. In goes my flour. I'm just going to give that a little stir. Again, if you don't have a dough hook, a wooden spoon would work fine. Just kind of get it mixed together a little bit. And then I'm going to put it onto my stand mixer using my dough hook. These recipes don't need a lot of mixing. We're just going to go until we get all the loose flour mixed in and we have a sticky dough. Oh, and we do have a sticky dough. Look how that just clings to my dough hook and my fingers. It's time to let this rise. I like to cover it with something and just leave it sit on your counter, or if you've got a warmer place in the house where the sun is shining in, or in the winter when your fireplace is going, you can let this sit in that warmer spot. Oh, our dough has risen so well. We are going to put 1/4 of that onto a rimless baking sheet that I put a little bit of cornmeal, or you could use a whole grain flour or even regular flour, just to prevent a little sticking. It's rimless because we will be sliding it off of this tray and onto a hot pizza stove. The fun part, we get to reach in here and pull out some of this dough. Kind of loosen it all from the sides, and I'm going to get about 1/4 of it. Now, I would not have to make this dough right away into bread. I could put all of it into the refrigerator, but I am going to go ahead and make 1/4 into fresh bread for today. And then the rest of my dough is going to go into this plastic container, and I'm going to store it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to have bread on a different day. And I will get 4 1-pound loaves out of this bread rest. So when I store this in their fridge, it is very important that you do not seal this lid on tight. This bread will be rising in there, and we just need to give it a little air. We don't want it to completely dry out, so a lid over it is helpful. Okay, my loaf of bread, though, that I am going to bake, I'm going to let sit for 40 minutes to rise. Halfway through, about 20 minutes from now, I will turn on my oven and put my pizza stone in so that my pizza stone is hot when I slide this bread off onto it. Well, that bread dough has pretty much doubled in size again. And we're going to take a serrated knife, one that's got those zigzaggy edges to it, and we're just going to put a little cut in the top of it. It just kind of can make it look kind of pretty. Now, it's a completely optional. The bread will taste just fine without this. I'm cutting down maybe 1/4 of an inch, no more than 1/2 of an inch, but it just gives it a nice little look on top if you do that. Oh, I can just see that steam rising off of that pizza pan. It is very, very hot. So in goes my loaf of bread. Notice how with that parchment paper I can just slide that in, and I'm going to bake it right on that parchment paper for 30 minutes at 450 degrees. Now I want to do one more thing. I'm going to add this pan that has about a cup of water, and that's going to go underneath, and that'll just create some steam, and it gives our bread a crusty outside while still keeping it nice and tender inside. Artisan make ahead white bread. Just look at that lovely, lovely texture. I just love how it's so soft and tender on the inside, but it's got that nice crunch. Check out my white bread recipe, as well as my videos for rye bread and light wheat bread, and a cheddar